Hi chums, we're back at the wood turning again. Okay, I'm going to make this. Okay, and it's a little peg from a deck chair. It looks like a hinge type of peg. Now, dimensions. I'm going to do this in inches. I'll tell you why in a wee second. Okay. Okay, so the total length of this is going to be 2 inches, just 1 7/8. Okay, and the diameter is about just ½ an inch diameter. Now, this little peg has got a shaft and a head. All right, the shaft of it is 1/4 inch wide, and it's 1 inch and 3/8 long, and the top of it is about 1 millimeter wider. This is the cap on the top, so it goes up about 1 inch and 3/8, and then it widens out to 1 inch, to about another couple of millimeters wider than it was. So it's 1/4 of an inch plus a wee bit more, and then it goes up another quarter of, well, what time is it? 3/8 of an inch. No, 5/8 of an inch further up to the top of the cap, which is a little domed cap, and it's slightly wider there as well. It's about, on that point there, it's about 3/4 of an inch wide at the top. So it's ½ an inch in diameter at the bottom and 3/4 of an inch in diameter at the top, and it's about 1 inch and 3/4, 1 inch and 5/8 long, with 1 inch and 3/8 about of a shaft that sticks into the chair. Why am I being so particular about these measurements? It's because there's a gentleman called Christopher Fisher, and he's a blind wood turner. Now, I don't mean legally blind where he has achieved a certain level of blindness that he can see slightly, but he's technically blind. He is totally blind. He can see nothing. And I watched him wood turning last night, and this is why I've started making the videos today, because I felt ashamed of myself and the excuses I was making not to make videos. Okay, so Christopher has a video up of him turning a wand for a white witch. It's an excellent video, and the amazing part is I kept forgetting Christopher was blind throughout the video. I had to keep reminding myself that he was blind, because I actually forgot that he was blind. That's how good he is. Okay, so I'm going to put a link to Christopher's channel so you can see Christopher turning, because he's a fantastic guy. He's an inspiration to everybody. So this little peg I'm making to put in the chair, I'm going to describe the process in detail so that Christopher can keep up with us, and he'll know what's going on, because he obviously can't see what I'm doing, but I'll tell him what I'm doing. So I'm making this little peg. It's about just under 2 inches long, and it's got a barrel about ½ an inch, sorry, yes, about ½ an inch thick and about 1 inch and 3/4 long, that goes into the chair, and there's a little sort of cap at the end, you could call it, where it flares out to a little dome at the top. Okay, so what am I going to use to make this? I'm going to use a piece of walnut, and this is a little bit of walnut I got from a house close by. When a big branch came off it, and the problem was that the inside of the branch was rotten, but the outer part was okay. So I sliced it up into little blanks like this for pens and stuff, and I'm going to use one of these because, as you can see, it's about twice the length of this little peg. Whoops. And it's a good bit thicker. It's about twice as thick, so I can carve it down to what I need. So the first thing I have to do is get that rounded off. So I'm going to turn the video down now, and we'll take it from there. Okay? Right, so I need to turn this camera back this way, and then I need to turn it down. Ooh, can I still see what's going on? Yes, put it down to there. Right, and now I'm going to go forward a bit, folks, so you can see better what I'm doing. That might be too close. That's close enough. Now, just lock that off there. I'm just losing something a wee bit there, and I just want to check that setting a wee bit. I think that's actually a little bit better there. And then I'm just going to drag that forward a wee bit just to see where it is. I know where I'm going to be working at, you see. So I'll just bring that down to... I'll bring it down to there. That'll be grand there. Okay, that'll be grand there. As I do more of these, folks, I'll try to get better, but I'm just learning my way at the moment, you know. Okay, so this is a very stop-start type of turning, because I'm going to have to make this round first of all, then I'm going to have to put it in a chuck, and then I'm going to have to take it down to dimension. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of using external calipers to set diameters. So it's about 3 different diameters involved in this. There's the diameter of the shaft, there's the smaller diameter of the cap and the bigger diameter of the cap, and then you blend those together to get the little hat affair, you know. So we'll get this onto the lathe first. So first thing we do is we have to find the centers, and if you look at that, you can see this piece here. It's got a bit of bark on the outside. We don't want that anywhere near it because that's very soft. So we'll just come across a bit and make a hole there. So you can see where I've put this hole in the end there. And I'll go to the other end, and it all looks pretty sound there except for the wee bit of bark in this corner. So we'll just come to the centre again and do the centre there. And now I'll mount this. I'm using a stab centre here again. I like the stab centres. So I'll put that in there and I'll bring my tailstock forward and lock that down. That's the tailstock locked down, and I'll just wind in the tailstock the quill just to tighten things up. Seems that's got a grip now, and put on my heads thing here. And then I'll just bring my tool rest over and whoops, just let it drop there. Now I'm going to run the lathe very fast here because this is a very small piece of wood, so I'm going to run it at full speed, about 2500 RPM, because it's going to be running quite slowly. The wood's going to be moving quite slowly at the centre. Now you would never run a 14-inch bowl at 25 or 2500 RPM because the outside speed would be phenomenal. So you run this a bit slower. By the way, folks, this is not an instruction video. This is just for showing you what I do. So if you copy this and get hurt, it's too bad, okay? Don't take my house off me, because it's kind of sad that we have to make disclaimers, but that's just the society we live in. And most of the people that watch this wouldn't do anything, but there's the odd passing lunatic might decide to do something. So this is not an instruction video, okay? It's in the how to and whatever it is, how to and something section, just to attract people who are interested in wood turning and crafts, but it's not an instruction video. Alright, I think I've made that point. Right, so we'll get going here. This piece of stock that I'm using is about 4 inches long and about 1 inch square. So I'm going to take that down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my calipers to bigger, just a bit bigger than the thing I'm using here. So what I'll do is I'll take the widest diameter of the piece, which is the head, and I'll just make that about 3 mil bigger, 3 or 4 mil bigger, so I've got something to work with when I get down there. Okay, so we'll just go with that and we'll see how we get on. The first thing I do is I have to get this rounded, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to round it off now. So here we go. Right. That's dead on there, that's round now, but as you can see there's a little flare up at the drive end because I don't want to hit the teeth of the stab centre. So what I can do is I can take that off, and look, there's the beauty, it just stops running, okay? and you can turn it round and put it back on the stab centre, wind this in while the glaze is running, let it go, and off it goes again. And then I can square this end here up. I'll just use the hand wheel to slow the lathe down. It's too dangerous to put my fingers in there. It's okay on a big piece of wood where you've got something to grab, but in here it's just a bit too dangerous, you know. Okay, so I'll look at this and see what I've got, because it might be no good. I've just dropped it onto the camera. Sorry about that, folks. Right, so I've got this piece of wood 4 inches long and about 3/4 of an inch thick now. I'm just looking at the best part of it. And I think the best part of it is up at this end. I'm just wondering. No, it's up at this end here, because that looks like sapwood there, which is maybe a bit soft. So I'm going to turn it round and put it into the lathe this way, and then I'll be able to carve this little bit of sapwood off. Where is it? Oh, I can't see what the camera is. Oh, it'll come back. There's a little bit of sapwood there. I'll just carve that off, and that'll give me my thing. So we change procedures here. I'm going to take the drive centre been taken out, so we can put that away back on its place. Look, as far as possible, try and put yourself back where you got it, because I don't, and I end up always trying to find stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to a chuck here with a set of pin jaws on it. These are jaws that are about 1.5 inches long, and they hold very small, long pieces. So it's ideal for holding a little cylinder. Another tip, guys, see when you're winding these things up onto your headstock, there's no need for this big twisting business and slamming it up onto the back. Just look, that's tight there, and I just did that. I just finger tight, and that's it done. It's coming towards you, so it's not going to come off, okay? And as you work, it's going to tighten it anyway, because the pressure of you on the work of your tool touching the work, okay? The pressure of that and the friction is going to try and drive this backwards, so that's going to tighten it up. Right, so where are we now? We're on this boy here now. So what end was going to take off? I was going to use this end. Now, as you can see, there's a little hole in the end of that. It doesn't matter. That's going to be this part here. That's going to be the end that goes inside the chair. So it doesn't matter, there's a wee hole in the end. So we can use that to square our blank up on the lathe. So I've got the blank in the chuck now. I'm just about to tighten up the jaws. So I'll tighten up the jaws and that, and I'm using the tailstock to keep the piece square, and then I'll just give a wee bit of pressure on it. As far as possible, folks, whenever you're turning, try to turn between centres. It gives you a lot more, it's a lot safer, and the stuff won't come flying out of the lathe. Because there's one lady out there told me she was waiting for the big piece of yew to come out and smack me in the mouth. So you'll have these sort of people who are looking for a bit of gratuitous blood and terror in the middle of your wood turning video. So please try to disappoint them by not having accidents, alright? So there we go, folks. We've got our blank in. It's too thick, obviously, so you need to bring it down to size. So what we do is, now I'm going to show you something else, folks. You don't ever do a video without having practiced first, okay? So there's the ones that I did earlier, and they're all done to size. Now, there's no finish going on these, because these might have to be varnished and glued and stuff. But what I did was, at the end, you can see they've all got little lines at the end of them. Those are for the glue. When I looked at the original, which is in my pocket, right, so I'll take one of these and I'll show it up against the original. Right, so there's the original with just the standard piece with about at the bottom is about 1/2 inch of glue that you might be able to see shining on the end of the blank. But what I did was I marked the 1/2 inch from the end of the blank when it got it down to size, and then I cut little grooves in it, which will give a greater surface area for the glue. So whatever Malachy, this is Malachy's pieces. It was a friend of mine, Malachy, asked me to make these. So when Malachy goes to glue these back in again, it's going to give him a much bigger glue surface on the peg, so he'll get a better purchase when it goes off. So hopefully that'll work. If it doesn't work, I'll make more for him, but it might hold a bit better next time, you know. The other thing is, with these are been made to size, whenever you're taking dimensions of something to copy it, you don't ever use one of your copies to make another one, because if I've made a mistake in this one, I'll amplify it on this one. Okay, sorry, if I've made a mistake making this one and then I go to make this one using this one as my reference, I'm going to amplify whatever mistake was on the first one. So always use your original to take measurements. Now there's no measurements on this. All I'm going to do here is offer this up and make marks. So I've got this in a 4-jaw chuck, pin chuck, or I don't know what you call those, long nose jaws or so, whatever it is, and I'm holding it between centres. So I'm just going to offer this up and make a couple of marks with a pencil, which I had sitting carefully, yeah. So I'm just going to, and I've just noticed something there, that's not square at the end. Okay, so I'm going to square that end off first before I do any work. So we'll just do that first. Okay, so I just squared that end off so when I'm taking the measurements everything's going to be the same. And then using my original little peg, I'm going to mark, make a mark at the top of the piece about 1 3/4 inches long, and another mark at the very top of the peg. So I've got the cap marked out where it's wider, and then I've got the bottom part done. So we've got 3 diameters here. We've got the diameter of the shaft that goes into the chair. Then we've got the diameter where the cap begins, which is about 2 millimeters wider than the shaft. And then we've got the top of the cap, which is another 2 millimeters wider again. So you've got a slope, or a graduation, your graduated slope from the bottom to the top of the cap. So it's like a wee hat. Okay, so I've marked, and you always double check your marks, I've marked where the cap begins and where the cap ends. So what I'll do now is I'll just make a mark with a parting tool, and that'll give me a reference for where to cut to. I'm going to have to mark it again, I can't see it. That's just now. Right, so what I did there was I marked the bottom of the cap and the top of the cap, and then I made a couple more, took some more wood out with the parting tool to give myself space to work here later on. So when I'm at that part, I might as well take that wood out to leave me room later on when I use a spindle gouge. So we've defined where the cap is. Now we need to take this peg down to diameter. So what we do is we get our calipers and our peg, and we'll just set this so that it just clears the diameter of the shaft and no more. Now I can make this a lot smaller, but that's no good. But I want to make it just as tight and neat a fit as possible. I can always take a bit more off if it's a bit too tight for Malachy's chair, but if it's too loose I can't put more on. So I'm near enough there now. There's some part, see, the glue makes it different in places, so I'm coming up to the middle here and I'm taking my measurement there. I'm quite happy with that, and let me make it a wee bit bigger. I'm splitting the difference here between the top of the cap and the bottom, you know. Or the top of this is not perfect by any means, a perfect cylinder. So I'm trying to split the difference between the very top under the cap and the middle, and I think I've got myself a fairly reasonable. I've got myself a fairly reasonable measurement now. So what I do now is I'm going to take the calipers and give myself depth gauges so that I know where to cut down to. Now, whenever you're using calipers, do not put your fingers inside the calipers, okay? You hold the calipers like that. You've got them in your hand. Sorry, I hold the calipers like this in my hand, nothing in the calipers, and you just turn them round. So you're just supporting them between your fingers like that, okay? So you have nothing inside them, just in case they get caught by the lathe. The other thing is, you keep this boy here, the wheel pointing up the way. You don't want something to go wrong when it's down the way, okay? So keep it up the way, and it's more liable to get it thrown down away from you, okay? Okay, so I'm going to turn the lathe on. I'm going to set my depths about 3 or 4 different distances along the shaft. Okay, so I've set my depths now, so I'm going to use a 3/8 inch spindle roughing gouge, spindle gouge, just to clean this off a wee bit, and then I'm going to use a skew to square it up, but I'm going to use it slightly differently from you'd normally see it. I'm going to use it as a negative rake scraper, okay? So we'll get this cleaned up here now. So I'm just going to take the tops off these where they're proud to bring them all down to the level of set with the calipers. Right, so we're near there now. So what I'm going to do is, to get this square, I'm just going to use a skew on its side. It's basically as a negative rake scraper. So I'm going to use it and just square it up. I've found a skew on its side gives great accuracy, and it also is excellent for doing pens. I'll be doing pens later on. I'll show you how I use it in pens. It can give you a beautiful curve on a pen, because the straight edge means you're only cutting in one point on a curve, so you can really define a curve beautifully, and a very delicate curve with a straight edge like this. So I'll just take that down to square now. I'm just taking the tops off, the little bits that I've taken down to diameter. Right, It does it fairly close to diameter now, so I'll just do my last check and see how I've done there. And it's just a wee bit tight there and a wee bit tight there. No, it's okay there. It's just a hair in it. Now, I'm not going to touch that with a skew again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the 80 grit gouge and I'll just use a little bit of sandpaper and take this down with the sandpaper, and that'll be enough to take the waste off that I need. So I'm just going to sand this down to diameter. So we'll see how we get on with that now. This is all a touchy-feely type thing because you're trying to copy something that's spot on. There's just a wee bit tight there, but it's all right in the rest. So just give it a wee touch and that'll be it done. So I'm just going to check my diameter again, and if it's good we can go to the top. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so we move to the top now. So what we have here is we've got about an inch and 3/4 of shaft, about half an inch in diameter, and we're going to move up now and create a little hat, which is going to be 1 millimeter thicker at the beginning where it comes off the shaft, and about 4 millimeters thicker at the top. So, or 2 millimeters and 4 millimeters. So I'm going to set those diameters, but before that I'm just going to take it down roughly, and then I'll set my diameters after that. Right, there's not a whole lot in that now, so I'll set my diameter for the bottom of the cap. So this, just where it comes off the shaft, I'm going to set the diameter for that. So back to the calipers, and I got these off my friend Kieran. When I started wood turning, he's an engineer, and I came home one day, a couple of days later, and he heard I'd started wood turning, and there was a set of inside calipers, outside calipers, and dividers sitting in a bag at the garage door, and he said, "You might need these someday." And I've been using them almost every day. I've been on the lathe since. Right, so that's just a nice tidy, nice little fit there. We're just squeezing through there nicely. So we'll set this bottom diameter here for the start of the cap. So I'll do that now. So I'm just going to I'll use my parting tool to do that. Start. Okay, so that's the bottom diameter set. And I just want to check again that I'm okay on this one, on the top one. That's the bottom set. So when I'm setting a top, I just come inside that line slightly. Right, we're grand on that. Okay, so get the top, set the top diameter now. So I'm right at the very end of the peg now, taking the diameter on the top of the peg, this little cap affair, and that would seem That will seem grand there. So we'll get this boy here set. Right, lathe on, shield down. Right, so I've got the top diameter set and the bottom diameter set. So I'm just going to take the top diameter set and the bottom set. So I'm just going to take a wee bit of that waste out with a spindle gouge between the two diameters, and then we'll square it off. Right, so we've got that squared off, so we've got a little hat. I just want to mark where I'm cutting here because I need to take this off. I'll just make a mark with a pencil here. I've just gone about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch too far there, but it'll be okay, it'll be okay. Right, so that's where I am. I just need to make a little pencil line on that. Right, what I'll do is I'll turn that over with a spindle gouge, and that'll leave me with the correct height, and it'll start the little flat top. So I'm going to do that now. Just 3/8 inch spindle gouge. See this guy here? This, no, quarter inch spindle gouge. One of the best tools in I was terrified of this tool, but I love it now. Right, final check that we're okay, and everything's grand. Now I'm just going to put my little lines in again now for the glue. So I'm just going to make a mark here. Okay, that's all right there, and then just turn the lathe on. Right, and then I'm going to use my new parting tool that Dr. Key Mobile Andy made for me out of a hacksaw blade, and it is a fantastic tool, really super little tool. So Andy, thanks very much. It's just been wonderful for this job here. So I'm going to cut 5 grooves in the bottom 1/4 inch of the peg to increase the surface area so that the glue will hold better. I just touched that with the a little bit of sandpaper just to take the furry bits off. I don't know if you noticed my hand coming back faster. Sometimes my hands lock in position. It's to do with the arthritis and stuff, you know. So I have to be very careful that if they lock, they could end up locking and pulling me into the work, so I have to get back quickly, you know. So if you see me jumping back sometimes, you'll know it's because my hands have locked up. Okay, so we're ready to part off. I need to make a very gentle curve on this. As you can see, these are just a little dome top on them. Where are they? There. Just a little dome top. So I'm just going to make a little cut, but I'm going to use Andy's cutting tool to do it because it gives me much more control, and I can sort of eat in gently around the curve and finally part it off. So we'll do that now. Right folks, so there we have it. Just stop, let the lathe stop before we get caught up in it. There we have it. There's the original and there's the copy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over to the sander and take the bottom off that there. You can see the wee bit in the, you can see a wee bit in the bottom there where it was held in the chuck. I'll just cut that off. And then on the top, there's just a wee bit of roughness in the top, but there's an easy way to get rid of that. I'll just show you what to do for that. Sorry, just meant to say, I'm just going to use a little reciprocating sander, hand sander, just to take that off. Right, give me 2 seconds folks, I'm going over to the main sander over here. So, there you go. That's the wee hole off the bottom. If I can get it back into the light, hole at the bottom, and that's it done. And there's the other ones. Now, the white ones are those white ones are those two there are ash, and these two are walnut, because I wasn't too sure which to use. So I decided to do both to see which one holds up the best. So I can make more if Malachy needs them. So there you go, Malachy as well. There's your pegs, and I'm going to do another couple just to give you 6, and then you can decide if you need more or not. Okay, so that's it folks. All the best now, and what I'll do is, I'll just try and talk for a second here. I'm just going to pull the camera back here because I don't want to scare the life out of you. Right, that's okay there. And then, open that up. So, that's the little things done for Malachy. I meant to get that done as well. I've got the video up about doing the wood for Carl. I've got a couple of tips videos up. That's like a monkey off my back, folks, to tell you the truth, because I've been trying to get these up for a long time. One of the videos is actually still in the computer, and I'll just scrap it because I made a real mess of trying to edit it. So I'll have another go. But that's it done. I hope it was sort of half enjoyable, and we'll see you for the next one. Okay, I'm going to start another channel called BMac Woodturning, but I'm going to leave these videos up for a while on this channel, on the baking soda channel, because just because people are used to the both in the one place, and then I'll gradually get you all over to the wood turning side, because there's going to be wood turners who have no interest in gardening, and it saves them trying to trawl through all the videos, because I think I have over 200 videos now. I'm not too sure, but it'll tidy things up a wee bit. Okay, so when BMac Woodturning is up and operational, I'll let you know. Alright, all the best now, bye bye.